Tech Cocktail Sessions, educational and inspirational talks from experienced startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders.
Is it on? Can everybody hear me? Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna apologize up front. I'm very animated. I'm from the South, and I will say fuck. All right, so now we got that all clear. Let's talk about the topic that I was talking about. It's not about the evolution of food. It's more about the evolution of offline social, right? So when Kathy sent me an email asking me, well, do you want to talk? I said, yeah, I want to talk. I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to a tree. Everybody that I met, no, I'll talk to anybody. But I couldn't figure out a topic. So I was at TechCrunch Disrupt when I was got that email, and I was actually in a conversation with somebody. It's a female, and we were talking about TechCrunch Disrupt and everything, and we're just having a small conversation, and this guy comes up, like right behind her, and he's like this close to her face, and just he's not saying anything, he's just looking at her. And I'm like, okay, this shit's getting weird. And I'm like, okay, do you know this guy? And she's like, no. He's like, well, I follow you on Twitter. We have a lot of conversations on Twitter. I'm like, and she steps back in a New York-esque way and says, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, okay, all right, that's the name of the topic. Because what I feel is that social media has made the world smaller, but I think people are actually using it to replace communication. Does that make sense? So, had conversations on Twitter, but you never met, how do you build a relationship like that? So I think social media is meant to be an enhancement, not a replacement. And that's kind of what the evolution is. I think we're going to go back to, you know, when you knew your neighbors and you actually know each other, you have a relationship with people. That's where I think the evolution of communication is going to go to. So that's where we are right now, is that people are using social media as a replacement versus in comparison to an enhancement. So I'll give you another story. I tell a lot of stories too, so if you don't like them, you can throw stuff at me. So I was in this is kind of like how it happened for me as far as talking and building relationships. So I was in Australia a couple years ago, and I was in Darwin. I was over there for like 8 weeks. I don't know if anybody knows where Darwin, Australia is. At the very, very, very top of Australia, kind of in the outback. I met a lot of great people. But so I was over there looking for food because I'm the restaurant guy. And no matter where you are in the world, you can always tell a chain a mile away, right? So I was using all the utilities and tools to try to find a restaurant, and I couldn't find one. So I started asking locals. Now, in Darwin, Australia, you got Aboriginals and you got Aussies. They ain't never seen a black guy. So when I started talking, you know, they stopped me and said, well, now you from America? I said, well, yeah. Well, do you know Jay-Z? I'm like, well, yeah, every black guy knows Jay-Z. But that got me in the door with the Aussies, and I started building relationships with the people down the coast. And for those of you who were in my little group at that house, I ended up having I rented a thing on Airbnb at Bondi Beach. There's actually some sand that came with people, but that came out of relationships that I built through Australia. And now I still communicate with these people, and we actually use social media to communicate, but we actually have relationships. So that's kind of the where I think we're gonna go. We're gonna start using social media as the enhancement to communicate. So what about the future, right? You all are sitting in the future, in my opinion. I don't know why I have my phone out. I'm sorry, I don't have notes. But you all are sitting in the future. And what I mean by that, what the Downtown Project and what Tony has created here is that. It's offline social media. They encourage people to actually help one another, build relationships, and ask for help, right? So you're actually building authentic relationships. So people go to these conferences, people go to big networking things, and never say anything to each other. They'll sit right next to each other and tweet each other. Now that doesn't make any sense to me. But here you all are sitting in the future of the relationships. And I feel like, I don't know how many people would have actually met 5 more people who all is visiting here. So I don't know how many people would have met 5 other people if the Tech Cocktail Crew and Downtown Project didn't encourage you to say, hey, I need help with X, right? But now that you've done that, you actually built relationships. Now, serendipity doesn't happen unless you open your mouth, right? I mean, if you don't say anything, how is anybody going to help you, or how are you going to be able to help someone else? So I feel like Tony and the Downtown Project, you're sitting in the future, so you should soak it up. And with serendipity, you got to open your mouth, or it's not going to work out. But on the flip side, relationships won't work unless you shut your mouth. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? So you need to listen to people when you're having a conversation with them, when you're interacting with them. It's not all about you, and that's what kind of social media has kind of made it, right? You go on Facebook, it's all about me, 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 me. Look at the picture I took at Zappos. I do it, I'm guilty too. I was all in that king chair, laid out with a crown, and I put it all on Facebook, and I went and looked at my likes. I'm like, people love me. But the evolution is people being able to communicate with one another. So what I did for my personal well-being while I was here, I was like, well, I want to build relationships while I'm here. So I met all kinds of people. I'm going fast. I need to slow down. Okay, I need to slow down a little bit. I can talk some more. So what I did is I just wanted to build lasting relationships. Like, I wanted to meet people and actually say, hey, you know what? If I do come back to Vegas, I have friends here. If I go to Boulder, I have friends there. So I'm going to kind of do a quick run through of the people I met, and maybe y'all should meet them too. So when I first walked in, and I was at, is it the Ogden? The Ogden, I was on the 25th floor, and I think I met Michael, Chrissy, Danger, Angel, and Molly. Angel and I have the same exact wedding date. We get married July 14th this summer. And we wouldn't have known that if we didn't have actual communication. I could have just sat there and worked on my laptop, but we had the same exact wedding date. Then I met Jen, and I met Frank. Then I just met Karen, and I met the other Karen at Rachel's Kitchen. And if anybody wants to know who Rachel is at Rachel's Kitchen, it's the daughter of the other founder of Rachel's Kitchen. But then I met Rob from Pivot Desk. I met Bill from Austin. I met James, don't know where James is from, East Bay. Then I met Craig, and I met Sam, and I met Egg, and I met Lai, and I met Tamay, and I met all these people that I think we could add value to each other's lives. I mean, for instance, Craig and I, he's from New York. I'll be in New York all next month. And we got in a conversation about his son, 10-year-old son, that is all about sports now. He's all active now. He's doing all kinds of stuff, but he's passionate about basketball. Now, I'm a has-been basketball player. I used to be decent back in the day. And I was like, you know what? When I come to New York, let's do some drills with your son. I'm all about it. I want to help out. That's not helping his business, but it's not always about helping someone's business. It's about helping each other, right? And then you got Sam and I. We got some similar backgrounds. We're both in sales, and he has a psychologist for a wife. I have a OBGYN for a wife. I told him, I said, you got to be careful with those psychologists because they'll play Jedi mind tricks on you, man. So, but he gets that. But I mean, you meet all these people, you build these lasting relationships. So before you leave out of this trailer, meet 5 people that you do not know. And don't ask just, well, so what do you do? You know, get a little bit more personal. You know, where you're from, like where you're really from. You know, that type of thing. Because this is the future of offline communication, offline social, is building relationships that are lasting. So when I come back to Vegas, I'm gonna hit Jen up. I'm like, yo, I'm here. What's up? And when I go to San Francisco, did Paul leave out of here? He introduced to a guy named Johnny Walker Black last night. And it just stung a little bit. But when I go to San Francisco, I'll be able to say, hey man, let's get together, let's grab a coffee. Those type of things. Those are what relationships are built for. And when I come back, I'll look at Gabe back there, yeah. And we're gonna get on this dartboard and I'm gonna beat him next time. That type of stuff. But anyway, this is the future of offline social. And I think if we could replicate things like this around the country, around the world, we'll be a much better society. That's all I got.
All right. Let's do a couple questions here. Who's got the first question? Anyone? Oh, there you go. You're a question machine.
Hello. So my question was, do you have any type of plan to get this out there, to spread the community relationships and what your thoughts are?
Well, I mean, I don't have a formalized plan, but I mean, I think it starts like in settings like this. And then, all right, where are you from? You from here?
Born and raised.
Born and raised. So when you, there it is. Vegas is in the house. No, but when you travel, you need to replicate the same thing. It could just be one person, you know. So when I travel, I'm gonna do the same exact thing everywhere. I can't go out and create the masses, but if you do one by one by one by one, it'll eventually spread like a bad virus. But it's a good thing.
All right, who's got the next question? Andy.
Hey, Rich.
Man, don't do this.
Can you explain to us how being an adequate basketball player makes you such a shitty darts player?
You know, I expected this from Gabe, but not from you, Andy. Not from you. Listen, I mean, darts is, you know, it's not active, you know? It's this motion, you know, basketball, you're moving, man, it's like that. So anybody wants to see me on the basketball court, you let me know.
All right. I think that's it. Unless anyone else has something else? Darts related or basketball related? Okay, great. Rich, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.